You are watching and listening to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT, and Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT, and also listening on WakeUpCallDT.com's homepage, as well as on mixlr.com/WakeUpCallDT. So however you're connected with the show, thank you so much for tuning in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and joining us here inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Cafe Kubal, you can find them on 324 West Water Street, 3501 James Street, 208 North Townsend Street, 401 South Salina Street. Those are all located in Syracuse, as well as their location inside of Golisano's Children's Hospital in downtown Syracuse. And you can find them out in Manlius on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, in that giant behemoth of a building where all roads converge to welcome you into Manlius. You can see their brown striped building right there and their new parking lot that has plenty of spaces on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York. And of course their newest location, which is their first ever drive-through, which I'm ecstatic about because I wanted them to get a drive-through for a long time here. So to be able to see their drive-through in reality come to life on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road in North Syracuse, New York. You'll find them right there, and that is the Sweetheart Corners location for Cafe Kubal, their newest location. So, however you connect with them, make sure you go out and get your coffee, get your chai, get your sandwiches, the Grinder, fantastic sandwich. You can also go out there and get your breakfast food and your snacks, all at Cafe Kubal. Fantastic foods, fantastic drinks, and always a great experience. So a lot of great stuff going on, and I appreciate them so very much. So make sure you head out there today and let them know that Wake Up Call sent you their way. Here on Wake Up Call, last week we had a shortened week as far as you being able to see some broadcasts, and that's because I was on site, on location at the 2021 ACC Kickoff down in Charlotte, North Carolina, and being there on site, on location, you still got to see me. If you watch the ACC Network, you got to see and hear from me as I spoke with every single one of the 14 institutions that came through the building, interviewing 51 total players and coaches all together from the Coastal Division and the Atlantic Division, as we're now back to divisions here after last year. We saw them split up and not have, or pardon me, not split up, but all come together and not have divisions during the pandemic year, where they brought in for one season Notre Dame and gave Notre Dame an opportunity to be a part of the ACC in its entirety, because right now obviously they're a part of the ACC but not for football. They're still independent for football. So getting to see them join for a year, and we'll talk about that in a second, but they got rid of divisions, and it was just one full conference of 15 schools, and so we got to see it that way and got to see what it could, look like and what it could really be. So, let's hang on that for a second, because the new commissioner of the ACC never got to have a true intro last year because we were in the pandemic. So he didn't get to fully meet anybody and have his address. Every ACC kickoff we have the commissioners forum, and there was no commissioners forum because of the fact that there was no ACC kickoff because of Corona. And so this was the first time we really got to meet the commissioner and see what he had to say and kind of see what's going on and whatnot, and get his take and get his feel and learn about him a little bit more. And so he brought up a bunch of different things. One of the things that he brought up in his address was the reality of the fact that Notre Dame joined the ACC last year, albeit temporarily. They joined into the ACC. And in joining the ACC, the question was, did this make sense for the future? Could this be something we could see in the future? Could we see an actual ACC with Notre Dame in it? And, he said that obviously this is something, and I'm happy that he brought this up. It was really cool to see him speak about this. And Jim Phillips said, that they've been in talks with Notre Dame about joining the ACC in their entirety. and becoming part of football in the ACC. And in having that conversation, he said that it's very unbashful on their side. It's very clear that they want it. He was kind of saying like, yeah, we've talked to them about it, and we're we're like not modest in our feeling of it. Like we're being very open about it, so to speak, and talking about the fact that like this is something that for them they're not shying away from, they're not trying to hide from it, so to speak, and they've made it very clear kind of what their intentions are. So he didn't only say that this is something that they're looking at. He said like, listen, we've had these conversations with Notre Dame, and we're not bashful to talk about it, and we're kind of like asking the girl to prom, but we're asking her every day. You know what I mean? Type of thing. And he didn't say he was talking about it every day. This is where I'm giving you an analogy. He was essentially saying like, yes, we've had the conversations, but we're not being kind of, like cat and mouse about it. We're very forward about it. We're like, hey, this is what I want. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I want to do. And so I thought that was, something to take home with you, to say, okay, they are talking about Notre Dame. They now can, because it's exactly what I said last year. Once you get Notre Dame in for a season and you wrote all that stuff in, now all the legal jargon is in there to write Notre Dame in because you already did it. The paperwork is in because you already did it. You've already seen them sign once. They've already signed, so they know what it feels like to do it. They've already agreed to it once. And albeit temporarily, because Notre Dame has gone through the motions of joining the ACC in football, now it's more of a reality. I said this on the show last season. I said, when you get somebody to sign once, it's easier for them to sign twice and 3 times and 4 times. And once you bring them through something, now you've already had experience. Now you have stuff on film. Now you have stuff on paper. Now they know what it's like to be there. And even if it's just for a little taste and just for a little moment, if they sample it and they like it, they've at least taken the sample. Now they know what the sample tastes like. Notre Dame hadn't tried the meal. They weren't eating it. Every time the ACC gave them a sample, they said, no, I'm good. No, I'm good. No, I'm okay. But now you try the sample, and now, okay, you know what? This tasted good to me. I like this. So now you know what it tastes like. Notre Dame has had a taste of what it's like to join the ACC. They've had a taste of what it's like to be a part of a conference and to not be independent in football for a season. So that is something that bodes very well for the ACC, because now the ACC has experience to go off of, and Notre Dame's already done it once, and Notre Dame was willing to do it. They were willing to try it. And sometimes that's all it takes, right? You get somebody to be willing to try something, willing to just, they fought you, and then you said, hey, you know what? Just try it. Just give it a chance. Just see if it could take you somewhere. And Notre Dame's done that, and so now that's on paper. And hearing the commissioner say exactly what I said here on the show means a lot to me, because it shows that my wavelength is also the wavelength of Jim Phillips. And Jim Phillips leading this ACC, saying we're not modest about it. We're really pushing, and we're having these conversations with Notre Dame, and we're letting them know, like, this is something that we're looking to. This is something that could fit you. This is something that could make sense. And they're not shying away from the conversation, which I thought was very, very exciting, that maybe something like that could happen. Another thing that happened at ACC Kickoff, and I want to let you all know, and let me take an aside for a second. The next couple weeks are going to be bananas, okay? This week, I have people coming onto the show that were also at ACC Kickoff, other broadcasters and writers in the world. So we're going to have some awesome people coming on. Inside of MonPazPopcorn.com is what's popping. The first guest that I have that was also at the ACC, that I was at ACC Kickoff in Charlotte, North Carolina this week, is Alex Dodd, the man that's taking the invisible handoff there with the light shirt on. Alex Dodd of the ClemsonInsider.com is going to be joining the show today at 10 a.m. Eastern Time to speak on his experience, his takeaways from ACC Kickoff. And all throughout this week, I'm going to have people that were there at ACC Kickoff speaking with me about their experience, about their time, and all that. So we're going to get a lot of voices on here from the ACC Kickoff, because many of us cover the event and are connected to the event. And I thought it was important to get some angles, get some thoughts from people that I obviously respected seeing there and having there, and guys that have been on the show before and those that have not been on the show before. So I'm excited to have them all be on the broadcast throughout the week this week. So this week's going to be a look back at ACC Kickoff from the perspective of the writers and the broadcasters and whatnot. Plus, we'll have our signature segments on the mark with Shamarko Thomas on Tuesday. We'll have Sports Ends and Aval with Gina Castelli on Tuesday. The Ingredients to Success, proudly brought to you by Avicoli's on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York. That'll also happen on Tuesday. We'll get back to the Fantasy Football Power Hour, and we'll do our 2.0 mock draft. We did our first mock draft. Now we're going to do 2.0. So as we get closer and closer to your fantasy football season, Mike and I are giving you our mock drafts. We did mock draft 1.0 of the first of our entire draft, 18 rounds. We did mock 1.0. We're going to give you 2.0 coming up this Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, proudly brought to you by the Wildcat Sports Pub on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Then on Thursday, Papa Joe will be back from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. We'll have the annoying moment of the week on Friday to start off the show, TGIF with Carvel DeWitt. We'll have Lead, Learn, Evolve, Adlib, and Deliver with Juanita Ward. If you got to see my one on the road coming back from ACC Kickoff, you definitely check it out again, bookmark it, share it. If you haven't seen it, it's on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt. So check it out there. And definitely appreciate Juanita. That was a great conversation. In between my flights, coming back from the ACC, because I want to make sure I got a show in for you. And the top dog of the week will be announced for this week on Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, proudly presented by Canine Camp Dog Daycare and Canine Campground Dog Boarding. So this entire week has a dedication to those of us that covered the ACC Kickoff, getting our angles, getting our thoughts. So I thought it would be cool. I've never done it like this before on the show ever. And all the years that I've been on the air, I've never done anything like this with ACC Kickoff and getting thoughts from other broadcasters and writers and people connected with the ACC. So I'm really excited about that. Next week, we're going to do the entire Atlantic Division. So next week, you will see my Q&As from ACC Kickoff on video and audio with Syracuse, Louisville, because we're going to have the entire Atlantic. Syracuse, Louisville, BC, Clemson, Florida State, Wake Forest, and NC State will all be next week for the first week of August. And then in the second week of August, you'll get the entire Coastal Division. Duke, North Carolina, Miami, Virginia, Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh, and Georgia Tech will all be joining the show. And then the week after that, I will be down in Florida for Florida in Focus, and that'll be, the week of August 16th. And we'll have that entire week dedicated to Florida in Focus, and I'll have some awesome special guests on for that. So there's a lot of great things coming up on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and you're not going to want to miss a single second of what we're going to be doing on the show. Like I said, all of these weeks have been set up for you in advance. So we have 4 weeks of Wake Up Call all set up. This week, ACC Kickoff Talk from my perspective and the perspective of other people in this line of work that went out and were a part of the ACC Kickoff. Then next week, my Q&As on video and audio from the ACC Kickoff with every Atlantic Division school, all 7 of them. Week after that, the entire Coastal Division, all 7 of them. Week after that, Florida in Focus. So, from Florida, from the great state of Florida, from the Sunshine State. So, from now until August, 20th, we are set and ready to go, if not beyond that. So I'm very excited to have you all on the broadcast, and I appreciate you all for being here. I'm so excited to bring you the video and audio of speaking with all 14 institutions of the ACC. I want to thank the ACC for letting us do this. I want to thank them first and foremost for the ACC Kickoff. And beyond that, I want to thank them for not only having the ACC Kickoff where they bring everybody to one place so we have the opportunity to do the interviews, but the fact that they did it this year because they didn't have to. You know, amidst all these scares and this variant and that variant and all this stuff going on, they didn't have to chance it this year. You know, we didn't have to wear masks. We didn't have to socially distance. We were able to have a normal ACC kickoff And I very, very much loved it. And I appreciate it tremendously. So I want to thank everyone at the ACC. Jim Phillips, Amy Yacola, literally everyone. The interns, the full-time workers, everybody that's, working in the ACC's home base in Greensboro, North Carolina. Just literally every man and woman connected to the ACC, thank you. Thank you to the West in Charlotte for letting us be a part of it and letting us be there, and the hotel functioning as normal. To everybody, the entire staff at the hotel, I want to thank every single person. I want to thank the airlines. I want to thank, all the hotels in the area that housed us. It really means a lot. I want to thank the restaurants because, listen, a year ago, these restaurants weren't open, these hotels weren't open, and the ACC kickoff was not happening with media. So everybody deserves a thank you in this because we got it done. We figured it out. And, I'm ecstatic, and thank you, Greg, for that. I'm ecstatic about everything we got to do. See, when I go to the ACC or I go to any event, my goal is to talk to as many people as possible, build as many bridges as I can, make my world as small as I could possibly make it, because Wake Up Call is about bringing you as much information from as many people, as many voices. It's about building relationships. When I leave this earth, I'd rather know almost everybody than almost no one. And so for me, and the quality of those people. So, for me over the years, it didn't make sense to me to go to an event and pick one team or two teams or something like that. I wanted to hear from them all, and I wanted to build that network. And because of that, I've gotten to build with Dave Clawson of Wake Forest. I've gotten to build with Dave Doran of NC State and David Cutcliffe of Duke. Guys that have been around the block. So not just Dino Babers of Syracuse in my backyard, but other coaches. Mike Norvell, I got to know him for 4 years at Memphis. So now that he's in his second year at Florida State, I've known him for 6 years, not 2. And not 1 because we didn't have the ACC kickoff last year, so I wouldn't have had the chance to meet him last year. So, it means a lot to me to build relationships, and it means a lot to me to be able to give you a look around the entire country. Having the commissioners that we've had on from the A-Sun and the Big South and the Big West and all of these places, all these things that we've gotten to do has really been incredible because we're making the world so small. We're getting to hear from people that are representing the Dakotas, the Californias, the Hawaiis, the East Coast, the West Coast, the Midwest. You've gotten a piece of all the parts of the country on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And so when people say, who do you cover? The better question is, who don't we cover? Where haven't we gotten to yet? And it's not because we don't want to. It's because we haven't gotten there yet. That's how I look at it. We build bridges. And you can build bridges, you build them one at a time. Sometimes we're working on a couple at a time. But just because the bridge isn't built yet doesn't mean it's not coming. And I love challenging myself. So it has been an art to do Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And and then I get a message from my mom during the show here that says, love what you do. I love that you do what you do. Makes me so proud. And thank you. So I just want to tell the people out there, I really want y'all to know this, and I want you to hear me. I want you to hear me. When you do what you love, you don't work. You don't. I got to fly down to Charlotte. And some people would say, you spent an entire day in a room. You didn't even eat breakfast or lunch on Wednesday. Didn't that drive you nuts? Didn't that upset you? Didn't that make you... No. I can do that every day. I could have done that every day. There's something that fuels me. The more work I give myself, the more fueled I become. I love researching and getting to know the team. And that's the thing. I research every single team. I research all 14 teams and everybody that was coming to visit. I had a question for literally everybody that walked through that room. Whether or not I got to ask it, I had a question for every single individual that was there at the ACC kickoff. All 3 representative players and every coach. Every single person that walked through the door, I had a question for. And at the end of the day, we interviewed over 50 people, which is a new record for me. My last one was 42. We interviewed over 50 people, and because I got to ask some of them multiple questions, we have 63 Q&As that are coming your way next week and the week after in total. 63. And more to come in the season. Watching and listening to Wake Up Call, you can be a fan of any one of the schools. Miami, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Duke, Syracuse, NC State, Wake Forest, Clemson, and on and on and on and on. If you're a fan of any team within the ACC, you will have something to watch and listen to on Wake Up Call throughout the entire next couple of weeks. As we barrel toward the beginning of the season, think about this. This week, we're hearing from people that were at ACC Kickoff, like myself. Next week, you're getting the entire Atlantic Division. The week after, you're getting the entire Coastal Division. Then I'm down in Florida for Florida in Focus, and then the season starts. So Wake Up Call is literally your notebook. Wake Up Call is your preparation for the ACC. You are going to hear from the coaches and the players inside of the ACC in such a dynamic and amazing way. I'm so excited for this. And the amount of work that goes into researching the teams, heading off to Charlotte, going there, setting everything up, asking my questions, recording everything, then going back and editing it and putting it all together so that you have it. You know, making sure that you have all the information. There's so much work that goes into it, and it is so worth it, and it is so rewarding, and it is so much fun to be able to do what I do and love it. If there is but one listener and but one viewer out there that takes something from this and is like, man, Dan covered my team Miami, and I got to hear from this guy, and I really got to, I didn't know that De'Aaron King played for Houston before. Well, how does Dan know that? Well, because he covered him in Houston. If I didn't do the research I do, and if I didn't cover all the teams that I cover, and if I didn't try to dip my toe into literally everything that we have in America and even beyond, then De'Aaron King to me would be a stranger. But because I cover the American Athletic and I cover Houston, I knew about De'Aaron King years before Miami did. So, and the same thing, like I said, with Mike Norvell. And that is the beauty of me having a small world. Going down to Carolina and saying, your head coach is Matt Rule. I covered Matt Rule for 2 seasons when he was up at Temple. So I knew Matt Rule way back when. So I fly into Charlotte. I drive by the Carolina Panthers Stadium. Guess what? I know your head coach because I cover the American Athletic. So those are the moments. I knew Justin Fuente from Memphis before he came to Virginia Tech. So those are the moments that reminds you why you do what you do and why I love doing what I do. It makes me so happy to wake up in the morning and say to myself, you put your name on that door, and you're the one that worked for this. You're the one that made this happen. You're the one that does this. You're the one that gets on the plane. You're the one that does the research, that has, your notebook and getting everything down. You're the one that goes and finds the information, that builds the partnerships with the beautiful companies we get to work with. When you go on wakeupcalldt.com's website, that's all me. That was all me. And I'm not saying that from an egotistical place. I'm saying you can do it. Believe in yourself. Trust in yourself. If there's something you want to go after, don't be a waitress telling everybody that you want to be a singer. Be a singer. Yeah, I know you might have to make money and it's going to take time, so I understand why you're waiting tables, but be a singer. Because every time I wanted to be a broadcaster and that was it. I just wanted to broadcast. I was working other jobs and I was writing about my show. I was doing a 1-day-a-week show on ESPN 1080 The Team down in Orlando way back when. And every time I was at my other job, I was writing down, even though I had a 1-day show, 1 day a week, I was writing down, I want to interview this guy, I want to talk about this, I want to do, I was constantly jotting things down because I'm so passionate about it and I love it so much. I'm like a kid in the candy store. I want to bring you all 14 schools today. I want to do it all this week. I'm like, why wait? And I'm like, you know what, Dan? Come on now. There's so much. Spread it out. Do an Atlantic week. Do a coastal week. Spread it all out. Because to me, I want to give you everything. I want to give you everything right now in this second. Because that's how I am. I love outpouring things and giving back. I love the community. Listen, I do this work for me, but I do it for you too, because you're the benefactor of this. All the work that I put in, you get to see it all. You get to read it all. You get to watch it all. When we do these interviews, oh, hey, Dave Pasiak, I didn't know who he was 3 months ago, but he used to coach at OCC, and now he's at NVU Linden and out in Vermont, and he's been a fan of basketball forever, and he's coached, and he's done all this stuff, and so he knows the game. So why do you have him on, Dan, if he's out in Vermont? Oh, because he has a connection to Central New York. Oh, because he's somebody who you trust more than most when it comes to the sport of basketball, because of he's an encyclopedia of information. I don't care if you're a D1, D2, D3 coach. I don't care if you're an NBA coach or who you are. He has the information. He knows it. That's why he's on the show. Because I respect his knowledge and his wisdom, and I respect his conversation. That's why he's on the show. Alex Dodd, Clemson Insider. I met Alex when he was a teenager running his own show, and he was the youngest kid at the ACC Kickoff asking questions, and people thought it was cute, and they thought it was interesting, and they thought it was unique. And this man believed in himself, banked on himself, and now he's doing what he does for the ClemsonInsider.com and just got signed on full-time to do his thing, and I'm incredibly proud of him. I had an intern that met me and said, Dan, I want to work for the PGA Tour. And I said, I have no connection to the PGA, but I can train you, and I can do this, this, and this. And then Zach Bowden comes to visit me, comes to my house during Corona times, and comes in, sits down on my couch, and I said, what are you doing now? He said, I'm getting ready to start my job with the PGA. If you want it, you can have it. Okay? God knows your talents. You deep down inside, you know your talents. You know what you can do. And maybe you don't yet. Maybe you have to untap that resource, but do it. Spend the time to figure out what it is. I can't stand when people have untapped potential and untapped, talent. Get to know who you are. Don't just go from dead-end job to dead-end job to dead-end job. It's not good enough to live your life saying, I would have done that movie so much better. I would have sang that song like this. I would have done this. I would have done that. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Do it. Because the shoulda, woulda, couldas are never going to materialize, and the shoulda, woulda, couldas are not going to be written on your tombstone. The shoulda, woulda, couldas are nothings. It's air. Right? I love music. I want to work in music. So as much as I'm broadcasting, I have to set aside some time to really see if that's something that I want to do, and if that's something God wants me to do, and if I can really push for that. Screenwriting, acting, directing. I put some time into stuff. I've been in a movie. I've been in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 as an extra. It's a beautiful thing. I actually got to be on camera. So, in the movie, and be a part of Marvel, and be a part of my favorite superhero of all time, which is Spider-Man. So, if you want it, go out and get it. All you got to look up and say, hey, God, I have dreams, I have aspirations. Open the doors for me that need to be opened. And if it's meant to be, it'll be. That's all I can tell you. If something's meant to be, it'll be. It will just be. Because the people that are meant to be in your life, you're not going to have to chase them and fight and try to grab them and hold on to them and, coerce them into being in your life. They're going to be there. They're going to call you. They're going to be by your side. The jobs and the things you're supposed to have, you're going to go after it, and it's going to happen. It's going to click. It's going to work out. Things will work out that are supposed to. But you have to be willing to put in the effort. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? If you take no risk and you sit on your couch your whole life, you're not going to go anywhere. I have conversations with people all the time. Dan, how do I do what you do? How do I get there? How do I do this? How do I do that? You got to believe in yourself. You got to put the work in, and you have to trust God that you may want to be a producer, and He may want you to be on air. Or you might want to be a singer, and He may want you to own a restaurant. But somehow, some way, it will all come together. My parents live their dreams. My mom always wanted to work for the airlines, and she's done that for such a grandiose part of her life. Over a decade, she's been able to do that. in the air and on the ground. My dad always wanted to be a lawyer. He's done that pretty much his entire life. And I wanted to be a sportscaster, and there's a lot of other things I want to work on. And in November, I'll be celebrating my 18th year of broadcasting. 18 years of broadcasting. So all I can say to you is, if you want it, go and get it. Just do it. Believe in yourself. Because you sitting and telling me that you want to do it, that's great. You got to figure out what you want to do, but then you have to do it. I don't want to talk to a construction worker that wants to be a doctor and 10 years down the road says the same thing to me. If you want to be a doctor and you're a construction worker, then when I see you 10 years from now, you better be a doctor. You better be in the field that you really think can help somebody from your life. Because some doctors want to be a construction worker, and that's the field they think they can help people. Right? There's a garbage truck driver that values what they do. There's a janitor that values what they do. There's a person that puts the lines on the field every week for football that enjoys and loves what they do and finds great pride in it. You have to figure out who you are. And then you have to get after it. I love the spotlight. Not because of an ego, but because I'm not afraid of it. I love the spotlight because you're never going to get me off stage. With a microphone in my hand, I'll go off stage when I'm ready. I'll go off stage when I'm done. And that level of confidence, you can have that. You have to believe. And you have to carry that level of confidence into every part of your life. Because if you're confident on stage, but backstage you're nervous as all get out, if you're confident in your professional life, but you're scared, you're scared out of your pants in your personal life, you have to be able, well, we're all able to do this. You have to focus. Because the ACC Kickoff, to me, is a beautiful, it's my playground. I got 14 teams in one place. Oh my goodness, the ACC did this for us. They brought everybody from all these different cities and different states into one place for 2 days, and I get to talk to them all. Amen. Let's do it. Let's have some fun. Let's make this historical. Let's make this special. And what's coming up for you within the next 2 weeks is going to be exactly that, historical and special. It is so much fun to do my job. And my job is ever changing, ever growing, and I'm constantly challenging myself. I have a fire inside of me right now to do even more. And everything that we built and all the companies we work with and everyone we brought on, especially during Corona, all the stuff that's happened, I told my mom yesterday, I don't feel like I'm challenging myself enough. I'm hungrier. Eating makes me more hungry. That's how I am. And when you find something that you love so much, eating will make you more hungry. Right? You find the love of your life, no matter how much you love them and how much you do with them, dang it, you wake up in the morning and you're like, I want to see them again today. I want to talk to them again today. When you do a job you love, no matter how much work you put in and how tired you are and what's going on, I want to do it again. I want to do this. I want to do that. You know you're in the right place when as much as you get to eat, you're still hungry. And that doesn't mean you don't appreciate what you have. And that doesn't mean you don't take time to really be happy and proud of it. It means that you should be hungry. You should wake up every day next to the person that you love and love them even more and never get sick of them. You should wake up every day and love what you do for a living even more and never get sick of it. I love broadcasting. I love getting on the air. I love doing this with you all. I love the fact that I'm talking to Spain right now. I'm talking to China. I'm talking to Italy. I'm talking to any one of the 50 states, all of the 50 states, Canada, Mexico, so on and so forth, Guatemala, Peru. I love the fact that we can do that here on Facebook, on YouTube, on MixLR, on my website, wakeupcalldt.com. And I love that after the fact, we can do this on Podbean and YouTube as well, and MixLR, because everything gets archived there, and on Spotify and Stitcher and TuneIn and iHeartRadio. I love that we're accessible to the world. Because we should be, because we're positive. And I carry a positive message with me every day. And there's no there can never be a shortage of positive messages. I mean, what I mean by that is we should always, we can never get enough positivity, is what I'm saying. And there's a lot of good that can come from what we do here. So, listen, we all get punched in the mouth. We all get, that knockdown, drag-out fight. Some of it's personal, some of it's professional, some of it's both in our lives. Some of you might be coming to me today and you just had your heart broken. Some of you might be coming to me today and you just lost your job. Some of you might be coming to me today and you don't know the next step to take. You might have had a family member pass away. So right now, you don't know where to go, what to do, how to do it. And guess what? That's okay. But what's not okay is waking up tomorrow in the same place. Even if you take a baby step today, even if you take a small step to heal your heart, to heal your mind, to save some money, to figure out where you're going to live, to figure out what you're going to do. If you take but a baby step today, which could be a prayer, it could be a phone call, it could be a trip, whatever it is, it could be a walk. Take a baby step today in the right direction and trust that. I don't know how people can go through life and be in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s and not know what they want to do. I don't know what I want to do. And I mean, I'm not saying that you can't say that in the moment, at some point. I'm saying somebody that, you meet them when they're 25 and then when they're 55, they still don't have their life together. That's 30 years. And you're never going to get that time back. Time is precious. So that's why I don't like when people waste mine. Time is very precious to me. If you're going to spend time with me, make it count. Because what you do within that time decides whether or not I give you more time. And I value every second. That's why when things annoy me or I have to deal with something, I get pissed because I'm like, okay, this is going to take time to work through. And we all have problems and issues and we all have things we have to work on. But dang it, I look at stuff going, why did you do this and then have to give me this time that I have to work on this? Why did you give me this project? So I would tell you all, value your time, go after your dreams, and believe that you can do it. Don't just watch my show and say, well, Dan's doing it. Go out and do something. You don't have to be a broadcaster, but be what you want to be. Do what you want to do. Don't hurt anybody, obviously, but go out there and do what you want to do. Live your dreams. And when I say don't hurt anybody, I'm saying don't go out there and do bad things. But you know what the bad things are, okay? We all have common sense. I would venture to believe that most of us know the good and the bad. But go out and do something good today. Do something positive today for you in the right step, in the right direction. Because things like the ACC Kickoff, I could do that every day in my life. Dan, you could not eat for half a day and not pee for 3 hours and not this and that. Yeah, because I love it. Because I have found what I love, what I'm good at, what I can do. And I could have done even more. And I would have challenged myself even more. And if the ACC wanted to do 10 days in a row, then I would ask questions all 10 days, all day long. Boom, boom, boom. Let's go. Give me my Fruit Loops. I'll have some in the middle. I'll eat some Fruit Loops in between, whatever it may be, and I'm back in the lab again. When you know who you are and you know what you're good at and you know what you want out of life, you go out and you get it. You control what you can control. And when God sends you a blessing, you accept it, you appreciate it, whether it be for a second or it be for a lifetime. When you get a blessing, you appreciate the blessing. And I got blessings all throughout this week. And maybe they last for a day, maybe they last for an hour, maybe they last for a week, maybe they last forever. But those blessings are blessings and I appreciate them because God gave me a week this week that I needed to cure me, to help me, to lift me, to hold me, to show me. And I got the message. We'll take a step aside on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and we'll come back right after this with plenty more. And 2 awesome guests coming up, Alex Dodd, Dave Pasiak, in just a little bit in hour number 2.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, where you're listening live, you're watching live on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt and facebook.com/livenowdt, as well as on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. So make sure that you're tuning into the show every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We have a great setup for the next month of what's coming up on these shows of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Awesome guests this week from the ACC Kickoff, and then next week the entire Atlantic Division. All my video Q&As that you'll be able to hear on audio as well with the entire Atlantic Division. That includes, of course, Syracuse, my hometown, and then the week after that, the Coastal Division Q&As, and then the week after that, we're down in Florida for Florida in Focus once again. So a lot of great stuff coming up on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And I'm so excited. I am a kid. I am. I'm a kid in a candy store. That's what I am. I love my job. And dang it, I want you to love your job too. So I hope that you're out there getting after it and loving what you do. You know, you wake up every morning next to somebody that you're not fond to see. Well, that's not good enough. You wake up every morning wondering what it would be like to wake up next to that person that you never called back. Well, that's not good enough. And getting after your job, you know, if you're not doing what you love and loving what you do, then that's not good enough. You know? I shouldn't be saying anything new to anybody. Go after what you want, love what you do, appreciate your blessings, and when things aren't going your way in one area of your life, but they're going your way in another area, keep working on that area, but guess what? That other one, be proud of that and appreciate that. Don't forget your blessings. We spend so much time looking in our bag for the things that aren't in there, instead of appreciating the things that are, right? Woman going through her purse looking for her lipstick. Dang it, I can't find my lipstick. I'm so mad that I don't have my lipstick. But you know what you do have in there? You have money, you got a mirror, you have car keys, you have pictures of your children. So as much as you're pissed that you can't find your lipstick, don't forget that you still have that other stuff in your bag. You know? And not everything comes at the same time. That's reality too. So we have to grow, we have to evolve, we have to learn, and things work out from there. So have faith and control what you can control. And don't spend your time worrying about the things you can't control. You can only put your best foot forward. You can't put somebody else's best foot forward for them. You can only put your best foot forward. That's it. And you go from here. So, with that being said, I talked about ACC Notre Dame. Jim Phillips, the new ACC commissioner, he also brought up the college football playoff and kind of, what they're taking from here. And the fact that, it seems pretty inevitable that it's going to happen. And that's kind of where we're at right now, is that the college football playoff looks like it will be expanding, and whether you agree with it or not, that's what looks to be happening. I'm all for the expansion of the college football playoff. I've been for it for a long time. I don't think 4 is enough. I think when you have a quote-unquote Power 5, there's not even enough space for them. So the Big 12, the Big 10, the ACC, the SEC, and the Pac-12, there's not enough space for all of them. And as good as the SEC is, you could have argued a couple seasons ago that you could have had Florida, Georgia, LSU, and Alabama be the 4 inside of the college football playoff. So, outside of Clemson, it really can be the whole SEC every single year. Ohio State's made it, Oklahoma's made it, so Washington's made it. So some teams have made it from the other conferences, but the reality of it all is it's Alabama, Clemson, then there's usually one more spot for an SEC team, and then there's an open spot for every one of the other 3 conferences to fill. And how is that fair to the Big 12, the Big 10, or the Pac-12? And then the American Athletic and everything that Cincinnati and UCF and these other teams have done, they put it into question. Last year, Coastal Carolina had a fantastic year. So the question is, how do we fit everything into 4? And you can't. You can't fit everything into 4. And I kept banging down the door about UCF and then banging down the door about Cincinnati because my coverage of the American Athletic has allowed me to really see it, not through rose-colored glasses, but through reality. I don't cover and defend the American Athletic Conference because I get paid to do it. I don't get paid anything to do that. This isn't some backdoor deal. I support and defend the American Athletic Conference because they deserve to be supported and defended. So, Greg said, what are the downsides or negatives of college football playoff expansion? Well, no matter how much you expand it, Greg, the reality is somebody's going to be left out, right? The NCAA tournament has 68 teams now for men's Division I basketball, and there's always a 69th team, right? There's over 300 teams in America. Somebody's going to complain. So of the 12, the downside of college football expansion would be that. There's always going to be a 13th school. There's the notion, too, of will they respect the American Athletic at this point, or will they just find more spaces to screw everybody else over? The other downside is it's more time on the players, and it's another game, and people like Dabo Swinney of Clemson was talking about if you're going to add a game in the postseason, then you have to take a regular season game away. So instead of playing 12 regular season games, let's play 11 because you're going to add on another game at the end. So scheduling, wear and tear on the body, one more game, which could be one less game in the NFL for some of these guys, or it could be one more game for guys that are never going to make it to the NFL. So, you can look at everything from both sides of the coin and see the positives and see the negatives. The downside that some people are saying, like Dabo Swinney had mentioned, is it's more time on the field for these guys, which can lead to injury and fatigue and wear and tear. So that's something that he would say, or has said, is to take, why don't we, take a regular season game away. So that's something to be thought of. Another downside monetarily is that the bowl games are going to lose even more value now. If there's 12 teams in the college football playoff, there's already all these bowl games that people are like, what the hell is this bowl game? And some of the names just sound ridiculous. And so, the bowl may lose some value. If you're in the Bumble-Tucky Bowl, on December 17th, nobody cares. So, or like very few people are watching that game. So there's that side of it. What does it do to the bowls? What does it do to the wear and tear on the body? Should we change the regular season and take a game away from the regular season? That would be the downside. The upside is it's going to be more fair. The upside is I don't think it puts too... you play another game, but again, how many of these players make it to the NFL compared to the amount of people that are playing? So, if I had one more game and I didn't know if I was going to make it as a, defensive back in the NFL, then to me, that means the world to me. But if I could be a first-round pick and I don't want to get injured, well, now I'm a little concerned. So, I think it kind of goes all around the corner as far as value-wise. To some people, again, a positive can be a negative. One more game on the field versus one more game on the field. I'm never going to play football again. This is great. I'm going to play football the rest of my life. Potentially, this is not great. Or for the next 10 years, this is not great. So, there are some downsides of expansion, but I think that it makes it more fair. I think there's more upside than downside. Yes, it's wear and tear on the body, but, again, how many of those players actually make it compared to how many play the game? And I would just love to see it. And again, this is what Division I AA has. This is what other people have already. This is what the FCS does already. They don't have bowl games. They have a playoff. They have a tournament that decides a true champion. So I like the true champion side of things. And I like more fairness. And I like if they're really going to take, the winners of 6 conference championship games, then that means the American's going to get in, more than likely. So I think it's good because I think the Coastal Carolinas never had a fighting chance, and UCF and Houston and Cincinnati and all these teams and Navy never had a fighting chance. Memphis, and now they do. Arguably they do. And the best friend of UCF and the best friend of the American Athletic Conference, the best friend of those schools of Coastal Carolina, has been exactly what I said it was. If enough of the quote-unquote Power 5 complains, it's going to help the little guy because the big guys are complaining. So little brother gets in the building because big brother's pissed off. That's what happened. The American Athletics should have never been disrespected if you watch their quality of football. But they have been disrespected, but their voice wasn't loud enough. The voice that was loud is the Pac-12 going, what's the point of having this and being a Power 5 and in part of the autonomy group if we're never in? And the Big Ten saying, well, what's the point of doing this if we're not in all the time? And, the Big 12 going, well, So being in that situation, that's what opened the door to this. I said if enough, because they kept saying, oh, well, we have this plan until 2020, whatever, 2030, whatever. It doesn't matter. If enough of the autonomy group complained, it was going to change. And that's what I think happened. And this is where we are. And speaking of where we are, we'll take a step aside and get Alex Dodd on here of the ClemsonInsider.com right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. it's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in their community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career, it's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, where you're listening live. You're also here on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, shared on facebook.com/livenowdt, and on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. So a lot of ways to interact with the show inside of the Cafe Kubal studios with multiple locations around central and upstate New York. So make sure you go and head out there for your cup of coffee, your tea, and whatever you're looking for today. Plenty of snacks and a lot of stuff to get for lunch, for breakfast as well from Cafe Kubal and all throughout the day. Here on the show, inside of MonPazPopcorn.com is what's poppin'. Our first guest of this broadcast, Alex Dodd, joining us here today after an hour kind of talking about the ACC Kickoff, chasing your dreams and going after what you want. Alex Dodd, a prime example of that. When he was but a wee one, came out to the ACC Kickoff and followed his dreams and went after what he wanted, and was very impressive the first time that I got to meet him and be around him. And now as I see this young lad continue to grow up and do his thing, I could not be more proud of the work he's doing, and obviously with the ClemsonInsider.com and in general, and always a positive energy guy. And I got to say that ACC Kickoff wouldn't be the same without having a door swing open and have this guy walk out and go, DT, what's up, man? So I got to give him some credit. Let's bring him in. Dodd, how we doing today?
DT, what's up, man? It's good to be on, as always. And you're right, the ACC Kickoff is one of my favorite times of the year, not just because it signals the start of football season, but because I get to see a lot of people that I've met over the years like you and catch up and have little side conversations, and that's probably the thing I enjoy about it the most.
Yeah, and me too. And I think for us, more than anything, hopefully, we appreciate it a lot more now because of the fact that we had it taken away. I mean, to me, it was heartbreaking to not be in Charlotte last year. How did you handle it, and what was it like to come back from your perspective to get back into the West End Charlotte this year?
Oh, man, absolutely a new appreciation for everything that we do. I think we've heard a lot of the players say that they have a new appreciation for college football and what it brings. But from a media perspective, I mean, we have a new appreciation. I was actually talking to you at the media social. All of our kind of Clemson beat, we were all hanging out together, and somebody came up to me and said, why are you hanging out with all the Clemson people? You need to be out networking. And I was like, because we haven't seen each other in over a year. I mean, the people that I would see every day, I hadn't seen some of them in over a year. So just being able to get back in the same room and catch up and see how people are doing in life outside of our job was something that I appreciated more than probably ever. I mean, I would say I probably appreciated going to the kickoff this year more than I did the first year that I went when I was 12, just because I got to be around people that I hadn't seen in over a year, or a guy like you who I haven't seen in 2 years since the last time we were able to go to the West End. So it was good to get back in that routine, but also good because it signals the start of a new football season, a football season where we're going to get to see likely fans in the stands and all the pageantry and tradition that we typically associate with college football return to the gridiron.
Yeah, and speaking here with Alex Dodd of the ClemsonInsider.com, I mean, that to me is, we never thought that was going to be taken away. Like, when did we in our lives ever think for a second, oh, we're not going to have an ACC kickoff, we're not going to have fans in the stands, we may not have a season, games may get canceled? I mean, that's something that has never crossed our minds. So going through a year of that, what did that teach you? That, we had such a very strange year, to say the least. I mean, to not have an ACC kickoff, to not have fans in the stands, to have cardboard cutouts there, just what you took away from all of this past year.
Yeah, I mean, again, just not taking things for granted. I mean, I didn't get to cover any games in person last year when I got used to covering every Clemson football game in person. So that whole experience was really eye-opening, sitting on the couch and covering it from the television instead of sitting in the press box and being able to see everything that's going on. I mean, I really do have a new appreciation for everything that we do. I actually got a chance to go to one game at Clemson with actually my girlfriend's dad's tickets and just sitting in the stands. It was weird. I haven't really sat in the stands for a football game in, several years, but sitting in the stands and it being a quarter full, it was awkward. It was weird. It was different. And then even like getting to go in person to Clemson baseball games this year, it was like, man, I'm sitting in a stadium watching the action take place in front of my eyes. And it was kind of a surreal experience as opposed to a year ago when I would have been, sitting at home and watching it on the TV or again, keeping up with stats on my own on my computer and instead of sitting in the press box and having a stat sheet brought to me at the end of every quarter. I mean, it was a completely different experience. Talking to players on Zoom was weird because you don't get to have and coaches not getting to have the normal interaction that you get to have when the interview's not rolling. So you're not building those relationships like you normally would. Really got to appreciate all the things that probably your listeners don't really understand about our job, that there's a lot of rapport that we build on a daily basis just being around the facilities and being around the campus. Not getting to do those things, honestly, it made it a lot harder to break news. It made it a lot harder to write stories, and really it probably caused all of our coverage to suffer in a way, just not being able to have the rapport that we normally would in a regular year.
Well, and I love what you just brought up. Like you said, a lot of people don't know this, but the relationship building, that is such a huge part of what I do. The care and concern, I know that you value and appreciate that. To get to know a player, to get to know a coach, and to spend the time with them, we didn't have that. And one of the things I totally forgot, because in my head, I'm like, oh, I've talked to Dino for the last year and a half. Dino looked at me when I was sitting in front of him at the second day ACC kickoff, and he said, "Hi, Dan." And I said, "Hi, Dino." And he said, "Missed you, Dan. Missed you a lot." And I was like, and it just hit me. I was like, oh, he's only seen me on Zoom for the past year and a half. I mean, and I didn't even think about that when he was like, "Missed you, Dan," because I was in the dome. We were allowed to cover the games, and it was just the media. There was maybe, I don't even know, maybe I'm probably highballing it, 30 of us. And so it was the Syracuse staff, the Syracuse players and coaches, and the groundskeeper and the media. That was it. And so I'm sitting here thinking about, in the press box, that was the majority of the people in the building besides the players. And I'm like, oh, I saw Dino, but I didn't, because we sat in the press box and saw him on Zoom. And then I was away games, I was sitting and doing Zoom stuff. And I remember like I was always sitting in my car because I always had to go places and we were doing stuff. And he was like, Dan, what are you in right now? You're always in a car. And he goes, you need to put a sign in your sunroof that says like, hey, Coach Dino. So the next time we did one, I made a sign that said, hi, Coach Babers when I was interviewing him. And, but you know, it really does hit you that, like you said, and I love that you said that because people don't see that. You value building relationships, and I do so very much, and that's what makes us relevant to these players 20 years from now, 30 years from now. So I love that you brought that up, that being on Zoom is not enough, because when you're in a locker room and everybody's interviewing one guy and you go to a different guy or a different girl, whatever it may be, and you're spending some time with them, they're getting to know you on a personal level, and they're getting to build a rapport with you and you with them. And you don't get that on Zoom because everybody's there and everybody's trying to ask a question. So you don't have that personal touch. And I love that you mentioned that because it's such a big part of what we do.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think there are going to be some schools that, I heard somebody say off the record, never let a good pandemic go to waste. And I think we're going to see some schools take advantage of that, and some organizations take advantage of that and kind of transform the way that access and interviews look. And I really hope that doesn't happen across a lot of schools in the ACC. I know Clemson's already kind of set the bar for what they want to do this year and allowing us to have our normal Clemson media outing before the ACC kickoff in person. And getting to do interviews the way that we normally would. So hopefully that continues. But I do feel like, unfortunately, there are going to be some schools across the country that do change the way that coverage works and the access is given because of how we've done things for the last year and a half.
Yeah, and you really hope that people don't do that and, take advantage of a horrible situation and make it even more horrible. But, from the ACC kickoff, being there, 14 schools, all converged in one area at one time, what means the most to you when you're there for those couple days, knowing that every coach and so many representatives of the team, player-wise, are there on site, on location, in one place?
Well, from a work standpoint, it's awesome because during the whole summer, you're scouring. In my job, working for the Clemson Insider, you're scouring the Twitterverse, looking for stories, and then you go to an event like the ACC Kickoff, and you have 100 stories that are right there in front of you. So events like that allow us to have content that's more relevant for the 2 or 3 weeks leading up to fall camp. So that's probably the most important thing from a work standpoint. From a personal standpoint, it's the water cooler conversations are probably the most important thing. Like I had a hilarious interaction with Boston College head coach Jeff Hafley at the water cooler right beside Radio Row. He walked over and was like, "Excuse me." And I was like, "Nah, you can't get a water." And we exchanged a little bit of a laugh, and then he's like, "Oh, where do you work?" And I told him, and he said, "You know how many Clemson people have asked me today how we feel about playing Clemson in Death Valley 2 years in a row?" I was like, "Well," and then my boss goes, "So, Coach, how do you feel about playing at Death Valley 2 years in a row?" And he said, "Yeah, well, the last time somebody asked me that, I think I said it pisses me off. So that's probably all over social media now." It's just those little funny interactions are what makes the ACC kickoff special. And I know that obviously in the last 4 or 5 years, it's changed a little bit the way that it works. Coaches used to sit down and have lunch and dinner with the media and come to the social and things like that. And it's not that way anymore, but there's still those interactions where you get to build rapport and also make connections with people who are covering other schools that can help in your coverage throughout the year, doing behind enemy lines and that kind of thing. Getting perspective of other beat writers is always helpful.
Yeah, and before I let you go here, Alex, a couple final things. Alex Dodd of the ClemsonInsider.com. We did get to have, and I've never, and I don't know if you know this, I've never been to the tailgate party. So I decided to go this year, and you had a part in that because I had come out of the TV room and I heard, "Dan, are you going?" And I was like, "Oh, maybe I'll go for a little bit." And another guy was like, "Are you going?" And then you walked out. You're like, "DT, you coming to the party?" So to me, I was like, well, I guess I'm going now. And, rooftop, patio, food, drinks on the ACC, having a good time, standing outside. I got to admit that never been to the party, but very memorable party. I know that you and the Clemson Insider Group we're in the Clemson people that obviously cover the team. We're holding court at the cornhole. So, what can you say about the experience of the tailgate parties? I mean, this was my first one, so.
Yeah, tailgate party was awesome. It's honestly one of my favorite parts of the kickoff. I've been going since I was 12 to the media party, which is funny. My drink of choice before I was of age was always Coke with lime. From the bar, like me and my dad, when my dad was, he likes to call himself my chauffeur when we were there, but when we would go up together or when my grandpa went with me, we'd always go to that area and that's where I built a lot of relationships, and actually where I built relationships that led to my job at the Clemson Insider, even when I was younger there. But I had a great time at the tailgate party. I will say William Qualkenbush and Kelly Gramlich, that hosts Out of Bounds in Clemson on the radio in the upstate, they took me to town in cornhole. I mean, and it's not Qualk that did it, it's Kelly. She's one of the all-time leading three-point shooters in Clemson women's basketball history, and it showed on the cornhole board. So I took a beating there, but had a great time.
And a final piece, and I know we'll be talking more about this as we get closer to the season, but what should we know about Clemson this year? Obviously, every year they're relevant, but what are some key things that you may be focused on at the ACC Kickoff?
One thing that I noticed just from talking to James Skalski and also Matt Bockhorst is this Clemson team has kind of a renewed zeal and a renewed hunger after the way they ended the season against Ohio State. They were obviously frustrated with the result, and I think it's kind of been a driving factor during summer workouts. Obviously, the talent is still there. Clemson's still recruiting at a top level. I know people will look at the 2022 recruiting rankings right now, and Clemson's like 12th or 13th or something. But it's just the nature of Clemson not being able to have people on campus, and I guarantee you that Clemson will be back in the top 5 before it's all said and done in that aspect. But Clemson has the talent, and I think the quarterback leadership from DJ Uiagalelei is going to be next level. I don't think you're going to see a lot of drop-off in the offense, especially with the wide receiver group finally being healthy after a year last year where they were really playing with second, third team guys a lot of the year. So Clemson's going to be back where it is, and I think it's a team that's capable of winning a national championship if they can put all the pieces together. And I'm really excited just to kind of hit reset on a lot of the national powers this year, because Ohio State lost a lot. Has C.J. Stroud's going to be leading the offense for the first time. Bryce Young at Alabama doing the same thing. JT Daniels at Georgia is probably the only elite school that has a returning quarterback, and he only played half the year last year. So I'm excited to see kind of a little bit of mixing it up in that top 5, top 10 group in the country. But I'm excited. My biggest takeaway from the ACC kickoff, though, it happened today, and I would be remiss if I didn't say this on the air, that there are at least 3 people who voted for preseason all-conference that don't deserve a vote because somebody voted for NC State, Georgia Tech, and Virginia to win the ACC, and that's just crazy to me. So I needed to say that before I got off the air today.
Yeah, and I was just looking at the top of the ACC poll, because as it comes out today, and taking a look at this right now, and the overall champion at Clemson, and then I picked Clemson in North Carolina, which the majority of the media did exactly that. So I'm looking at it right now, and I'm pretty much even here, especially in the Coastal Division with my votes, and I have Clemson, North Carolina for the ACC championship with Clemson doing it. But yeah, I mean, I guess that is very surprising that we see some of this. Georgia Tech got 4 first place votes, Virginia 2, Pittsburgh 1, Virginia Tech 3, and NC State got 1. So yeah,
the overall ACC championship vote.
Oh,
the
yeah.
Conference champion. Somebody voted for each of those 3 schools.
Yeah,
and,
Virginia.
Somebody in the SEC voted for South Carolina to win the SEC. So I guess maybe there are people that are just that crazy out there, or maybe there are people who just want to be funny with their vote. But I don't know. People like me and you usually take that kind of thing pretty seriously and want to measure ourselves at the end of the year. So
yeah,
that was weird.
Yeah, and I find that very important and very key when you're making a decision. I guess these are the same people that wouldn't vote Derek Jeter in unanimously. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
I'm a Red Sox fan. I'd still vote Derek Jeter in unanimously.
yeah, I mean, we look at it, but yeah, NC State, Georgia Tech, Virginia all got a vote to win the ACC as the champion. Miami got 3 votes. North Carolina got 16. Clemson got 125. What I can tell you is that the Atlantic Division, I have a couple different thoughts in certain areas, and I think I have Syracuse. I have Syracuse toward the bottom, but Florida State, I believe I had a little bit higher. The Coastal Division looks like it pretty much makes sense. But I always post mine on my website, and one time some newspaper picked it up, and they're like, Dan Tortora exposes his picks, and like Mystery Man reveals himself. I'm like, I'm not a mystery man. I made my picks, and I shared them on my website, and it was free to click on. And by the way, when I was right and Syracuse made it to the Final Four, that newspaper never asked me to do a follow-up story. So just so you guys know, I appreciate the follow-up. But yeah, I mean, we do take this very seriously. I love the fact that I get to vote in any poll about anything. So yeah, I would think Clemson, North Carolina made the most sense, and that's what most of us went with. But everybody's got a vote, everybody's got a thought, and you know, maybe this is like the hanging Chad in Florida. Maybe somebody hit a button and it was the wrong button. Who knows?
Maybe. I guess we'll find out. Maybe we won't. I bet the people who made those picks probably won't post theirs publicly.
So that coming from Alex Dodd of the ClemsonInsider.com. Alex, it's always great to see you. Thank you for the appreciation and the respect. It goes right back to you, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
Dan, I appreciate it. Look forward to coming on soon.
All right, man. I'll talk to you. That coming from Alex Dodd one more time here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Very much appreciate everything that he's bringing to the table and everything that he had to say. So very much appreciate Alex Dodd being here on the broadcast on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where, like I said, sports meets that thing called life. So having a lot of fun here today inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, and we always are very much welcoming to everybody around the country and the world. And listen, everybody gets a vote. That's the thing. Everybody gets a vote. And if you believe in your vote, you know, my thing is if you can't defend it, you probably shouldn't vote that way. And that's how I look at it. So, you know, I have my list up. I can actually pull my list up right now because I took a picture of it, because I don't shy away from who I select here. So if I bring my list up, let's see here. So I had Clemson first in the Atlantic. I had Florida State second. They have them fourth, the majority of the media. So I'm giving you the votes that the media had. So the media had Clemson, NC State, Boston College, Florida State, Wake Forest, Louisville, Syracuse. I have Clemson, Florida State, Louisville, Boston College. So I have Boston College and Florida State close to where the media had them. I have NC State at 5. They have them at 2. I have Syracuse at 6. They have them at 7. I have Wake Forest last. In the Coastal Division, I have North Carolina, Miami, Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh, Virginia, Georgia Tech, Duke. They have North Carolina the same as me, Miami the same as me. This is the majority of the media. They have Virginia Tech. I have Pittsburgh, one off. So I have them 3. They have Pittsburgh 4. I have Virginia 4. They have them 5. I have Virginia Tech 5. They have Virginia 5. And then we both have Georgia Tech at 6 and both have Duke at 7, and Clemson being the champion. So my Coastal Division is right there, almost dead even with what the majority of the media voted for. And then my Atlantic Division has some changes. The Syracuse pick is close. The Boston College pick is close. The Florida State pick is relatively close. And I think Louisville's a lot better than the majority of the media. I put Louisville 3rd. They put them 6th. And we both have Clemson at the top. So not too far off voting-wise as far as where we have them. Clemson in the Atlantic Division got 1,028 votes, which put them first. NC State got 804. Boston College 638. Florida State 510. Wake Forest 472. Louisville 462. And Syracuse 202 to be where they are. In the Coastal Division, North Carolina 979. Miami 881, Virginia Tech 582, Pittsburgh 576, Virginia 540, Georgia Tech 340, and Duke 218. So that's where we sit at with all of this. And a lot of good stuff here. North Carolina and Clemson both got over 100 first-place votes. And NC State got 1 vote for first place in the Atlantic. Virginia Tech got 3, Pitt got 1, Virginia got 2, Georgia Tech got 4, Miami got 28. So that's where it sits at. Overall champion, 125 votes for Clemson to be first. North Carolina got 16, Miami 3, Virginia 1, Georgia Tech 1, NC State 1. So of 147 total votes, that's how everything shook out. So, how many people put the put the teams where they put the teams. So that's where we sit at in the grand scheme of things. I'm going to post mine up against what the majority of the media posted. We'll see how it ends at the end of the season. But, yeah, I mean, like Alex Dodd said, him and I both take seriousness in making these picks because, well, if you're not going to be serious, why make the pick? We'll take a step aside for a fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Cafe Kubal studios and be back right after this. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, is your home for the Liverpool Athletics broadcast every single month, on site, on location at Avicoli's. Right down the road, within walking distance of Liverpool High School, you will find Avicoli's on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York. They are open Tuesday through Sunday, and you can get lunch, dinner, and drinks on site, on location. You can go to their pizza casual side, their fine dining side, their bar, as well as their outdoor dining. And if you'd like to take it all home with you, you can call them for takeout, delivery, and catering at 315-622-5100. That's 315-622-5100 to get a hold of them that way. And make sure you head out to Avicoli's today, Tuesday through Sunday. Canine Camp Dog Daycare and Canine Campground Dog Boarding, the place that I trust to take care of our furry-loving friends, including my little girl Lily. Make sure you get out to Canine Camp Dog Daycare on 228 Old Bridge Street in East Syracuse, and right around the corner, the campground for longer-term care on 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse. Get out to them today. There is no better place to take care of your dog and to know that they'll be safe, respected, appreciated, and treated as part of the family than going out to Canine Camp Dog Daycare and Canine Campground Dog Boarding. PB&J's Lunchbox, located on 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York, is your new home for all of your cravings. Open Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. They have some of your favorites, your traditionals, your Philly cheesesteaks and your burgers and whatnot. And they also have a great array of things that you won't find anywhere else, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly. Make sure you make your way out to PB&J's Lunchbox today and enjoy their food on 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York at PB&J's Lunchbox. Minutes from the Thruway, the highway, Destiny USA, and on Onondaga Lake Parkway. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, located on 791 West Genesee Street in Skaneateles, New York, is your place to take each step in your journey towards your own personal victory. That is why they have that name, and led by Dr. Mark Petropoli, the entire team at Victory cares about you, treats each patient as an individual, and answers the questions that you have. How hard is it to find a doctor that cares, answers your questions, and tells you why they're doing what they're doing? Well, I could speak from personal experience of almost a decade of going out to Victory, and from head to toe, whatever your injury may be, they'll lead you through it, guide you on your way to victory, and help you, be it rehab, preventative care, physical therapy, or surgery. They are there for you to help you find a way back to your own personal victory and to help you get to a place where not only you're healthy and you're well, but that you stay that way. So thank you to Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics for all that they do in our community and beyond. Make sure you call them for your appointment today, 315-685-7544. That's 315-685-7544. With that being stated, back on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Cafe Kubal on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 208 North Townsend Street, as well as 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, inside of Golisano's Children's Hospital in Syracuse, New York as well. And you'll find them out in Manlius at 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, and that giant brown striped building that leads you into Manlius where all the roads converge. Make sure you take the time to pop in there and get your favorite coffee, tea, or snack before you head on your way. And, of course, you can go through the drive-thru all throughout the week on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road in North Syracuse at Sweetheart Corners for some of that Cafe Kubal good lovin' in the cup. So make sure you get out there today. And with that being said, inside of MonPawsPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', our next guest on the show, Mr. Dave Pasiak, here with us. He has followed us throughout the entire NBA playoffs this year, and he is with us today to talk about the NBA champion Milwaukee Bucks. Let's bring in Mr. Pasiak and see how the man's doing. Dave, how are we?
I'm good, Dan. How you doing?
Doing very well. And you know, Dave, this past week, I was being over at ACC Kickoff and doing all my work in Charlotte. We didn't get to catch up with you here, so I would love to get your thoughts on, you know, how this series really just ended, and, you know, how you talked about the fact that Phoenix had never been up against the ropes this entire NBA playoffs. They didn't know what it was going to be like to play from behind or to, you know, play with their backs up against the wall. And obviously, when they were put in a position to play with their backs up against the wall, they did not respond with a championship. So what's your overall take on these last couple games that we didn't get to talk about, and how, you know, Phoenix was in a totally different situation this time?
Well, I think, yeah. You know, there were instances where, you know, outside of Chris Paul and Crowder, Phoenix is a really young team. And, you know, I think one of the things with the NBA playoffs, the beauty of the playoffs is in the struggle. And I think it's one of those things that maybe Phoenix is going to have to go through on their way to potentially at some point becoming a championship team. You know, Milwaukee went through it. Milwaukee had the best record in the league for a couple of years, came up short in the playoffs, and had to grind. And I mean, if you go back through NBA history, I mean, Jordan had to overcome the Pistons. The Pistons had to overcome Boston. You know, LeBron had to overcome, you know, coming up short, and then finally breaking through with Miami. And then Cleveland as a franchise had to, you know, come up short against Golden State, and then they got over the top. So I think just like the struggle is really something that is really pronounced in the NBA. It's very, very rare that you see a team go from, you know, not making the playoffs a year ago to winning a championship. You know, the only one that comes to mind in recent history is the Celtic team with Pearson and Allen and Garnett. So something Phoenix got to go through. You know, on the other side of the coin, I think you know, to be honest, the narrative around him, I mean, changed 180 over the course of that series. You know, he was a guy that a lot of casual basketball fans tended to downplay, and he's not really that skilled. You know, he's overrated. He's this, he's that. You know, he's two-time MVP, but you know, he's not the best player in the game. And you know, he really changed that narrative. And I mean, his performance, especially coming off that injury he had in the previous round, I mean, he was unbelievable. And he really, I mean, capped it off with a game for the ages in the clincher.
Yeah, you know, and that's the thing with Giannis. There was the notion the last 2 years that they were supposed to be the team to beat, right? They were the team of the East. They were the top seed. They were supposed to be the team that was going to go to the NBA Finals, and they did not advance there. Miami got them last year. The year before that, Toronto got them en route to winning their first NBA championship in 2019. So what can you say about, you know, the last 2 years, the Bucks were the number one seed in the East, and there was the expectation that they were supposed to win, and Giannis was supposed to prove himself. And then this year, as the 3 seed, they won a championship when people were focusing on Philadelphia and Brooklyn. What can you say about the juxtaposition of 2019, 2020, the Bucks are supposed to go to the finals, 2021, they're not, and this is the year they win?
Well, I mean, we talked about this at the beginning of the playoffs. If you remember, you know, being a Sixers fan, I was, you know, rooting for the Sixers, but I said if they didn't win it, the team that I thought had a really good chance was Milwaukee for that, you know, for that very reason. They were, you know, a bit of an under-the-radar team. Like, most people didn't see them coming out of the East, and, you know, people were talking Brooklyn, they were talking Philly, they were talking Lakers and Utah and Clippers, and, you know, even like Phoenix was a little bit of an under-the-radar, even though they were 2 seed in the West. But, you know, Milwaukee, I thought, you know, without having that bullseye on their back, and, you know, without, you know, being the team that everybody thought, you know, was championship or bust, I think not having that pressure helped them in the early rounds. And that said, if Durant is another 2 inches back, Brooklyn wins that series. So that's how fragile the margin is between winning the championship and being out around earlier. So it's really, or 2 rounds earlier actually. The margin between winning a championship and coming up short is so slim in the NBA. It really is.
Yeah, speaking here with NVU Linden Hornets men's basketball head coach Dave Pasiak, who has a big-time connection to Central New York, obviously, and has been here on Wake Up Call since we came back to Central and upstate New York a while back here around 2011 time, 2011, 2012. So, Dave, to see the Bucks do this, and like you said, that you thought they had a chance if another team was out that they would have a shot to do it. Was there a feel from you this year, going through the regular season, that Milwaukee could do it? Did you see it in them before we got to the playoffs? Was this always a team to beat? Was this always a team to not underlook? How did you see Milwaukee this year when there's been so much talk and so much hype and so much expectation? Like I said, the last 2 years, did you see it this year? Or did you see it as the series, throughout the playoffs, as they kind of went from one to the other? Did you see it after Brooklyn, or did you see it before they even stepped into the playoffs?
Well, I thought, going into the season, they made the move to add Holiday. You get that third high-level scorer, playmaker, and Holiday's also an elite perimeter defender. So, they made the move to bring him in, give them the third option high level guy to go with Giannis and Middleton, and then they were not that they were playing poorly during the regular season, but they were not playing at the level they had the past couple of years, and part of that may have been an issue with how to integrate Holiday. Part of it, maybe a little bit of hangover from the bubble. And disappointment last year. But I thought that they seemed to kind of find their stride the last quarter to third of the regular season. And that's why when we talked going into the playoffs, I thought they were a team that had a chance to, to win a championship, because they seemed to, they kind of made somewhat of a run at Brooklyn and Philly, came up a couple games short of moving up into the 1 or 2 spot, but, made a run at that late and were playing pretty well, I would say, the last quarter to third of the regular season. So, definitely we're trending in the right direction in the playoffs, and thought they had a good chance to win it going in. When Giannis went down with that injury, I thought that, potentially could be the end of the Bucks, but to the team's credit, they were able to kind of keep the boat in the water until he came back, and then to his credit, he came back and just got more and more comfortable and better each game after he came back.
Yeah, and it's great to see. I mean, what Giannis has been able to do and how he's been able to, have the finals that he had after the concern that this injury was going to take him out. We hear so many things about Giannis, and here he is, an NBA champion. He does it with the Milwaukee Bucks. People talk about him leaving, going here, there, and everywhere, and he stays with Milwaukee. He wins a championship. He goes to, a company that I'm very proud to be partnered with, Chick-fil-A, and he, does a massive promotion for Chick-fil-A, just going through the drive-thru and whatnot. What can you say about how this man has handled himself, handled the media, handled his career, and how he celebrated winning a championship?
Well, I think he's always been an impressive guy as far as he hasn't been he was never Americanized into acting the way a lot of American professional athletes do. You can tell he came up in a different environment and whatnot. And people were trying to create the narrative that he wants out of Milwaukee, bigger market and all that. And a couple of things about that. I don't think that doesn't seem to necessarily be a priority with him. And in the NBA, like, because it's such a player-driven league and a star-driven league, I think the whole notion of playing in a major media market is overblown in the NBA. You know, we've seen guys. I mean, Durant became a big star playing in Oklahoma City. I mean, LeBron became marketable playing in Cleveland. So, I think the notion that you have to be in New York or LA to build your brand in the NBA, I think is a fallacy. And, but Giannis specifically, I think he's a guy from everything you see, and he says the right things, and credits his teammates, and has a dose of humility and everything. I think the narrative of the basketball fan and the American sports media surrounding Giannis changed with his performance in this finals, because I think he was, like we said at the beginning of the show, I think he was, for the last several years, I think people have gone out of their way to take kind of shots at him and talk him down a little bit. And I think now, people have really no choice but to recognize him as one of the top 2 or 3 players in the world, and has a chance to be, the best player in the world in fairly short order.
Yeah, and seeing him do this and be so successful at it. And I mean, I can't get over like all the hype and all the backlash of why didn't he do it last year? Why didn't he do it the year before? And then here it is this year. Do you think it almost helps that there wasn't as much hype? I mean, does that, you've been a coach for a long time. Does it help out Giannis that everybody was focused on him 2019, focused on him 2020, and this year everybody was expecting Philadelphia and Brooklyn to do it? So was that not maybe an accidental assist to Giannis that they kind of left his team alone a little bit more?
Well, I think for sure it helped him and it helped the Bucks as a team. People didn't want the media narrative, especially didn't want to acknowledge Milwaukee as a legitimate title threat for the longest time. People were considering Budenholzer fired after each game. Anytime they'd lose a game in the playoffs, Budenholzer, people had him out the door and everything. And I think he was certainly a vindication for him this season, as well as the whole franchise and as well as Giannis. So, but I think the fact that they weren't the target, so to speak, certainly helped them to play with a little bit more. A little bit less stress and a little bit more free way, which, and then they got it going. And everybody thought, remember their first round series with Miami, everybody thought that was going to be perhaps the best series of the first round, and they swept Miami in 4. So I think after that, they just kind of got it rolling, and Middleton established himself as a big time money player, and we talked about the addition of Holiday, and when you've got a team built around a top 3 or 4 player in the world, you always got a chance. So
yeah, and having that. And speaking of the world, here with Dave Pasiak, NVU Linden Hornets men's basketball head coach, speaking on the NBA Finals and how everything shook out with the Bucks getting a championship. Looking at the fact that Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, as well as Devin Booker, they all played in the NBA Finals. Middleton and Holiday for the Bucks, and Booker for the Suns. And just days later, they're off representing America in the Olympics. Thoughts on the fact that, when it comes to the Olympics, it used to be a beautiful thing. It used to be an honor. It used to be a privilege. And over the years, players, I don't want to do it. I don't want to get injured. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. To see the fact that 3 players that played in the NBA Finals, including 2 of them being champions with the Milwaukee Bucks, say, after all this, we're going to Tokyo, and even in a pandemic year, and we're going to go off there and we're going to represent America. What does it mean to you that 3 players within the NBA Finals decided to represent America and spend just a couple days before heading off to Tokyo?
Yeah, I give all three of those guys all the credit in the world. I guess they actually got into Tokyo less than 24 hours before the France game. So, all credit to those guys. And I think, it speaks to them as professionals and as Americans. And, what it really, there's a lot in the media about, like, there's certain athletes at the Olympic Games who are, go out of their way to make political statements that are, anti-American and whatnot. I think that it speaks a lot to those three guys that, that playing in an NBA Finals, it still meant enough to them to put USA on their chest and go play for an opportunity to win a gold medal, only a matter of days later. So, all credit to all three of those guys.
Yeah, and Dave, for you as a coach, when you see, Team USA used to feature the David Robinsons and Scottie Pippens and Michael Jordans and Larry Birds and Magic Johnsons and Patrick Ewings and so on and so forth, when you see that, that used to be the way that it was, and it used to be the reality here, that when you got that honor, you took that honor, and that honor meant something to you. To see these gentlemen doing this and rep the United States of America, what can you say about it, as a fan? And historically, Team USA used to get the best of America. Now they get the guys that want to go, and not necessarily always the best of the best players. And I don't want to discredit any of the guys that are on the team. That's not what I'm trying to do. But, Jordan wasn't saying, whatever. Magic wasn't going, I got other things to do. So, it used to be that the best players, it used to be that they wanted to get picked. You wanted to get picked for Team USA. And now you got your first alternate, your second alternate going out there because the best of the best don't necessarily always want to play. What can you say about the transition of that throughout history, where when we were repping U.S., it was the best of the U.S. Now we're repping the United States, and sometimes it's the third alternate player?
Well, I think there's a couple things to unpack there. If you go all the way back to the original Dream Team, like, that was new, and it was new for everybody, and everybody wanted to be a part of that. From Jordan to Ewing to Bird to Magic to, Malone to Stockton to, all the elite players wanted to be a part of that. I don't have a big problem with, like, a guy like LeBron James late in his career, or Carmelo Anthony. Like, those guys have certainly made their contributions to USA basketball. And we still got elite players playing. We got Kevin Durant, probably, as good as any player in the world playing. You got Lillard. Draymond Green has played a couple of Olympics now. It's not like we're sending over a bunch of bums. Like, we're sending good players over there, and especially it's complicated. This Olympics, there's additional complications. Like, Bradley Beal really, wanted to be in his first Olympics, and he got caught in the COVID protocol. Kevin Love's a guy who has, he's certainly made his contributions to USA basketball and wanted to play, and unfortunately hadn't and was going to play. And, his injury that kept him out of a lot of last year hasn't really progressed to the point that allowed him to do that. So, I think especially with the shorter turnaround this year, remember we went into the fall with the bubble, and then we had the, short turnaround to the regular season. Finals don't end until middle of July, second half of July. And then you turn around and flipping it to the Olympics, and then all of a sudden we're back on normal calendar for 21, 22. So I do think, like, this particular Olympic cycle, there's more of a people are more tentative about it if they're, if they're trying to come off an injury, or if they're, some guys, if they're in a contract year, or things like that, come into play. But we're still getting it, and I want to see guys that want to be there. And, certainly like a guy like Durant, I mean, he's played in multiple Olympics, and he's still out in the forefront of USA basketball. So I do think that, one of the things that's being kind of unearthed in this cycle, so to speak, the Olympic team is built with, it's kind of mimicked how basketball has progressed in the United States with, the emphasis on 3-and-D guys and perimeter play and shooting the threes and everything, guys that can get to the basket, and de-emphasize the importance of inside play and post play. People say, why is JaVale McGee on the team? Well, I mean, we don't have a whole lot of size beyond him. And I think what happened against France, where Gobert and their other post players really had their way around the basket with the U.S., and we saw a little bit of that in some of the exhibition play where they got beat. I think that international basketball, for one, the defensive rules are different from what's in the NBA. Like in the NBA with the illegal defense, in combination with how tightly and how much they've really gone to protecting freedom of movement, and it's a lot easier to get a foul called on the drive in the NBA, for example, versus international play where it's much, much more physical. They can play like true zone and get into more stable help defense and things like that. So it's taken away some of the, one-on-one ability of some of our guys, So I do think that, depending on, USA could turn around and run off, 5 games in a row and win the gold medal, and they're still the favorites to do that. I'll be well in the basketball world, but I think if the U.S. comes up short in this Olympics, I do think it's going to lead to some, some thoughts on how on the roster construction. And I think the other thing that that's going to, I guess, maybe needs to be thought about is like the USA, because they're all elite guys, and I think, the coaching staff and whatnot, they feel like everybody's got to get their touch. There's no real pecking order, there's no real role definition, and everybody's playing and it's rotating guys through and everything. Versus like a team like France, who's got 4 or 5 guys that have played in the NBA at one point, and the team's built around guys like Fournier and Gobert, and other guys know that. And it's not, they're not a team where they're, trying to keep 10 or 12 guys happy to make sure they're getting their minutes and their touches. So I think that's, that's something that, the Dream Team era, when the USA was just like so far ahead of the rest of the world, didn't matter. You could, any 5 guys put out there would be fine, and they weren't really concerned with, matchups or any of that kind of thing. Now that the rest of the world is, has catching up in basketball, and there's more players and more places and everything, I do think that that they're going to need to rethink that. So, and the other piece of it, I would like to see the USA put more emphasis on the World Cup tournament, which is like in the the off years. The last one was 2019. The next one will be 2023. And we send a good team to that, but I would like to see. It's very interesting in basketball. The Olympics tend to be the focal point versus the World Cup, the World Championship, versus in soccer, the FIFA people made a deal with the Olympics, and Olympic soccer is really not heavily followed, especially on the men's side, because the best teams don't send the best players. It's more of a U25 tournament, and FIFA made that deal to keep the focus on the World Cup and not have the Olympics outshine the World Cup. So I just find it very interesting the contrast between how basketball and how soccer treat the Olympics versus the World Championship.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point as we look at things moving forward and seeing how different things are addressed and different teams are looked at. But hopefully the representation for the United States will continue to be loud and proud and positive. I do want to make one quick note here, Dave, before I let you go. Dave Pasiak, a longtime coach and analyst of the sport of basketball, hanging out with us inside the Cafe Kubal studios on Wake Up Call. In 1970-71 season, the Milwaukee Bucks is the only other championship that they've had. So to win the championship this year, they're doing it 50 years later. On the 50th anniversary of winning a championship, they did it again. And from 71 to 2021, Milwaukee Bucks back in 71 defeating the Baltimore Bullets in a sweep 4-0. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the champion, was the MVP that year for the Bucks. And as we move forward, he would eventually become a Laker. What's your take on this being the Bucks' second championship and doing it with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? Here's the thing: 50 years in between. Your thoughts on that, it being their second championship, and then your thoughts on Kareem Abdul-Jabbar winning a championship with the Bucks and then leaving. Do you see that happening with Giannis?
Well, that first Bucks championship teams, that's one of my earliest memories of basketball, to be honest with you. When I was a kid and everything. It was Kareem and it was Oscar Robertson. It was, Oscar at that point was still a terrific player, but was on the backside of his career. And the little trivia question for everybody in Central New York: the coach of that Bucks team was Larry Costello, who's from Manoa, and at one point when Utica College was Division I, was the coach there. And he's a Central New York, a Syracuse area guy. But anyways. I think, Kareem, Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at that time, I think it was I don't remember all the specifics about when he went to the Lakers, but I think it was basically a financial deal where, the money wasn't what it is in the NBA now, and the salary structures weren't the same. It was, at that time, a small market team like Milwaukee couldn't, they didn't have things in place where now, you can get a bigger deal to stay with the team that you're on than you can to sign with anybody else and get an extra year and make more money. That wasn't really in place at that time. So I think it became a situation where Alcindor, Kareem, could not. Milwaukee wasn't in a position to compete for him financially. So, I think the structure of the NBA is a little bit different now, and players have avenues to make money outside of their contract and everything. So, and Giannis is going to make money internationally too. That's what people, he's going to, if he chooses to, he's very marketable beyond the United States as far as, endorsements and revenue streams and all that. So, I don't necessarily see. I could be wrong, but I hope that's not the case where Giannis bolts to the Lakers at some point, or bolts to the Knicks or whatever. But he seems like he's content in Milwaukee and really wants to continue to elevate that franchise.
Yeah, coming from Dave Pasiak. Dave, as always, great notes and great talk on the NBA and the sport of basketball. I appreciate you being here with us this morning, and I always look forward to talking with you soon. So stay safe and stay well, and you'll be back here with us soon, I'm sure, and I look forward to having you back on. Yeah, I look forward to talking to you again, Dan. It's been great to kind of go through the playoffs with you. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Talk to you soon. Talk soon. That coming from Dave Pasiak here, where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We'll take a step aside for our final fast break here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And when we come back, we'll wrap up today's show right after this inside the Cafe Kubal studios.
Cafe Kubal Mobile Cafe brings the cafe experience to you. We'll roll out to your neighborhood or office, ready to serve our locally crafted espresso bar to our loyal patrons. Inquire at cafekubal.com. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, located on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, is home to over 40 flavors with more than 200 flavors in their total wheelhouse. Sky's the limit for this sweet and savory Central New York company. Keep it local at your parties, fundraisers, wedding showers, baby showers, and more by calling 315-450-MA-PA. That's 315-450-6272 for popcorn bars with custom flavors and colors at your upcoming event. Make sure to visit them on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. And for more information, go to maandpassnacks.com. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you? Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Quick note here, the Millhouse Market, 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York, is worth the drive every time. Make sure you make your way out to the Millhouse Market today and all throughout the week. They are open for you Tuesday through Sunday, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., Tuesday through Saturday, on Sunday, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And when I say open, they're drive-through, carry-out window to grab your food and go. You don't even have to get out of your car. You have the general store and the indoor dining restaurant with a bistro menu that changes every weekend, so you can go back every weekend for something new. They have everything from salads to quinoa bowls, rice bowls, breads, desserts, and of course their sandwiches named after the families that helped to settle today's Pulaski. Ingrained in our community and ingrained in our taste buds, there is nothing like the Millhouse Market. Make sure you find your way out there today. 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York. Worth the drive every single time. With that being stated, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life, I want to thank you for watching the show and listening to the show today. You've been watching on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT, and on YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT. You've been listening on WakeUpCallDT.com and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. So however you've connected with the show, thank you so much for tuning into this broadcast of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. I hope that you have a fantastic day and stay safe. So many great things coming up this week and within the next couple weeks. This week, ACC Kickoff, having a bunch of people on that were a part of the ACC Kickoff, as well as our signature segments coming on to the broadcast. And then next week, the entire Atlantic Division, my video Q&As, video and audio Q&As with all 7 teams in the Atlantic, including Syracuse. The week after that, the entire Coastal Division Q&As that I had personally. And then after that, we'll be in Florida for Florida in Focus. So do not miss a moment of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. I am so happy to be here with you, and I thank you so much for tuning into the show. We will be back, God willing, with you tomorrow morning from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Same place, same channels. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, MixLR, and of course on WakeUpCallDT.com's homepage every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And of course, once the shows go live, then they get to the archive and Stitcher, Spotify, MixLR, YouTube, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Podbean, TuneIn, and more. Simply search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora or search one word, Wake Up Call DT. And either one of those will work for you on all of those channels. I want to thank all of our wonderful partners in Central and Upstate New York, Cafe Kubals at Carvel DeWitt, Wildcat Sports Pub, Honda City of Liverpool, Mother's Cupboard, Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Avicoli's, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, PB&J's Lunchbox, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Pizza Man, the Millhouse Market, and Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. Use the promo code DT20 for 20% off. That's DT20 by going to maandpaspopcorn.com. Use the promo code DT20, that's DT20 for 20% off today from anywhere in America. You can literally order anywhere in the 50 states. They'll ship it to you, And you can order for in-store pickup online if you live in Central New York. Go to maandpazpopcorn.com, and as long as you order online for either in-store pickup or delivery, you can use my promo code DT20 and get 20% off today. So, with that all being said, find us on Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, Twitter at CallDT, and Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. And God bless, no stress, do your best. I'll talk with you so very soon, and keep your